10 abominable things that happen every year in Zimbabwe. Officially, the Republic of Zimbabwe is a landlocked country located in southern Africa. It is located between the Zambezi and Limpopo rivers. It has an area of 390,757 square km. Its capital and largest city is Harare. Its official currency is the United States dollar. Its 5 bordering countries are Botswana, Mozambique, South Africa, Zambia, and Namibia. The country has 16 official languages: Chua, Zimbabwe, English, Kalanga, Khoisan, presumably Tisoa, Nambia, Endau, Isindebele, Shangani, Shona, Sign Language Zimbabwean Sign Languages, Sesotho, Tonga, Tuana, Tivenda, Isixhosa. Zimbabwe, like many African countries, has some strange practices that are viewed as abominable by people from different countries. Here are 10 of such strange and abominable practices. 1. Child marriage. Child marriage is a type of marriage that involves persons below the age of 18. Child marriages can either be voluntary or involuntary. Child marriage is a union between an adult and a child or minor, or it may involve 2 minors. This type of marriage affects the girls involved. In Zimbabwe, 34% of girls are married before the age of 18 and 5% are married before their 15th birthday, while 2% of boys in Zimbabwe are married before their 18th. This type of marriage is seen as an abominable to people in other countries. 2. Human trafficking. This is the unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. Zimbabwe is a source, transit and destination country for human trafficking. The major victims of human trafficking are women and children. Women and children are trafficked for the purpose of sexual exploitation and forced labor. Men. Women and children are trafficked internally to do domestic work and other farm works. 3. Domestic violence in Zimbabwe. It is believed that if a man does not hit his wife, he does not love her. This belief gives men the right to beat their wives and stops women from complaining. Gender-based violence denies women the opportunities and abilities to utilize their basic human right. In Zimbabwe, about 1 in 3 women aged 15 to 49 have experienced physical violence, and about 1 in 4 women have experienced sexual violence since the age of 15. 4. Child labor. Child labor refers to the employment of children in work that is harmful to their physical, mental, or educational well-being. It involves children working in dangerous, exploitative, or hazardous condition. Children in Zimbabwe are subjected to the worst form of child labor, including commercial sexual exploitation, forced labor on farms and agriculture. In Zimbabwe, children work in artisanal and small-scale gold mining sites. Child labor in Zimbabwe can be found on large-scale farms, in the peasant sector, domestic employment, in the small-scale industries of the informal sector, in contract work in some industries, and street jobs. 5. Female genital mutilation. FGM. Female genital mutilation. FGM, also known as female genital mutilation, cutting. FGMC, and female circumcision is the cutting or removal of some or all of the vulva of a female. This practice is prevalent in Zimbabwe. FGM violates the human rights of girls and women in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, traditional circumciser uses a blade to cut part of a girl's or woman's vagina. FGM is conducted from days after birth to puberty and beyond. This is done as a way to control female sexuality. FGM is a practice that is common among the Shangani people, who together with the Venda and Tonga people make up about 2% of the Zimbabwean population. Circumcision among the Shangaan is a form of identity. It is a mark that proudly distinguishes them from the rest of the inhabitants of the country. 6. Discrimination against people with albinism. People with albinism in Zimbabwe are faced with discrimination by others. People with albinism are verbally abused and stared at. In Zimbabwe, it is believed that sleeping with people with albinism can cure HIV. People with albinism are killed because their body parts are believed to bring good luck and have spiritual significance. Many people with albinism are shunned by their community members. There is no support for people with albinism in Zimbabwe. 7. Ritual killings. Ritual killing is prevalent in Zimbabwe. Ritual killing involves the murder of people for their body parts, which are believed to have spiritual significance and are used for traditional rituals. This practice is driven by superstitious belief that certain parts of the human body possess magical powers. The parts often used for ritual are ears, eyes, toes, head, genital organs, amongst others. This practice persists, and many lives are lost every year due to ritual killings in Zimbabwe. 8. Witch hunting in Zimbabwe. Witch hunters are called tikamutandas or goras. They are believed to possess supernatural powers and are able to detect witches and wizards. Witch hunters are responsible for the prosecution of alleged witches. Accusations of witchcraft in Zimbabwe are against older women, people perceived as different, and people living with disabilities. Witch hunts in Zimbabwe have resulted in killings of alleged witches and have instilled fear in the minds of people, especially older people. 9. Wife inheritance. Wife inheritance, also known as levitate marriage or widow inheritance, is a practice in Zimbabwe where a widow is inherited by her late husband's brother or another male relative. This practice is deeply rooted in the traditional cultures of the Zimbabwean. This act is done to protect the late husband's properties and children. This practice does not necessarily consider the widow's welfare because her consent is not required. 10. Rain making ceremony. Rain making ceremony, also known as mukwerera, is a traditional ritual performed by the Shona people in Zimbabwe to ask the ancestors for rain. The ritual is believed to ensure rain for the crops. In conclusion, it is important to note that these strange and abominable practices are not only limited to the aforementioned ones. Some others include snake handling, traditional circumcision, traditional burial practices, and others. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more.